Not get used to this podium, so I want to appreciate all our elders in the house. The Lord bless you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. You're worthy of it all. Mr. Choir, know the song. You're worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all.
For from you are all things.
For from you are all things, and to you are all things.
You deserve
the glory.
Oh, you are worthy of it all, Lord.
You're worthy of it all.
You are worthy of it all.
You're worthy of it
From you are all things.
all. From you are all
To you
things,
are all things.
and to you are all
You
things.
deserve the glory.
You deserve the glory.
Oh, you are worthy of it all.
You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. Oh, from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. And we behold the beauty of the Lord. We're inquiring His temple, the temple of the Lord. And we behold the beauty of the Lord. We're inquiring His temple, the temple of the Lord, and we behold the beauty of the Lord. We inquiring His temple of the Lord, and we behold the beauty of the Lord. behold your beauty. Your beauty, your beauty. We see you in your many colors. Babehova kama mivehasusa da hayas. Evenohoria vahase sesila hahadu sahayashida. Baya vihelu sosavahati zenahanosa. Rave hunte sesa dovili hanu suhate kiata. Bote veruda hati sevika bokame bonte tita. Sayanto veko badato fahadu na hata tata. Mati ledu sufe hene kabubra hata doheta. Bento sevai bekikoko makami metenano. Minto dia seso vetomba ya kekaba. Broteti zahandi kava. Lalu kiveheba. Matongi kesuzotai. Aiboka berudo nianteti. Sedida sato mohote. Satabinoria tehedukuwa sata. Branto veku makame behese. Dinoso. Ezento kemobe keme yonte hananado. Amiamonte yanda kabanante. Sanibro we beyond. Abatala mutuma na rahana dihote. Sembri vohone ya. The temple of the Lord. Oh, we beyond you. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. In the name of Jesus. You may be seated. Savior, you can move mountains. Our God is mighty to save. He is mighty to forever. Author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Yes, you're the Savior. He can move mountains. Our God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Oh, forever. Author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. For as the deep ends forward as soul, my soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. This heart beats. Oh, as the deep ends forward as soul, my soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. This heart, oh, as the deep ends forward as my soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. This heart, as the deep ends forward as longs for you. Forever and ever. forwarders. My soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. This heart beats for you. As the deer pants forward, so my soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. This heart, it beats for you. It beats for you. Forever and ever, yes. Oh, this heart. Nino neverona halilivele heliano saliata. Oh, my soul longs for you. And forever and ever, yes. This heart, one more time, Master, demons forward us. My soul, forever and ever, yes. This heart beats for you. Psalms 42 verse 1. Psalm 42 verse 1. We want to pray. My soul longs for you. Forever and ever, yes. To the chief musician, Mashiach, is a song of very deep contemplations. For the sons of Korah, as the hart panted after the water brooks, so panted my soul after thee, O God. As God's servant began to answer those questions, my heart sank deeper. My heart sank. And it is because sometimes we get lost in the strength of the atmosphere, not knowing that you can be in a house of lights and be lost. Not because your spirit has not been implicated with reality, but your soul has been wired differently. And so sometimes the journey of reality from the soul, from the spirit rather, is truncated in the soul. And when we get to that point, beyond the things that we say, we must bring men to the waters. I did a study around this verse of scripture, and I found out that water means something differently to the heart. That's the deer. Because the rest of creation, we draw at foundational level, we draw the reality of a quenched thirst from water. So that if I see you begin to gravitate towards a cup of water, a bottle of water, one of the things I will ask in trying to unravel the mystery behind your journey is to ask you, are you thirsty? You see, but for the heart is one of those graceful creatures. And so it predisposes it to existence as a permanent prey. Anything carnivorous loves to come around the heart. But the motivation, as I found out, is beyond its graceful nature. Is that as it moves around the knees, a certain hormone that can be smelt by predators is generated. Are you with me? What this hormone does is that it appeals to the carnivorous nature of the creatures of prey. So every time it moves, it announces that food is around. And those creatures that feast on it become more agitated. Are you with me? So it's like food beckoning on the eater's because it moves. However, the story says that every time it finds a water brook close by, once it gets into the water brook, if the water is not knee deep, it goes on his knees in the water brook. And what the water does is to melt the secreted hormone, so that whatever was after its life loses scent of it, and then it finds preservation. So his longing is greater than quenching thirst. And I'm saying that you may be longing for things in God just to quench an ambition. You have a craving, you want to quench it. That's why we are journeying towards it. But the water means more. The water is also a place of preservation. Let me begin by announcing to you that our fears will not materialize when we all come to the understanding that the Spirit that gives gifts is also the Spirit that preserves the vessel that is gifted. Are you with me? But you will need to know Him beyond His capacity to gift you a gift. I will not be careless with my life, because I understand that there is capacity in the Spirit that gave me the gift in managing the gift to ensure that the gift is not lost because the one who carries it is lost. In 4 minutes, we want to acknowledge the Holy Spirit as the keeper of the gifted. I found out that in my little experience with the realm of the Spirit, one of the things that they trade for the visibility of spirits or for the activity of spirits is acknowledgement. In the Southwest, masquerades are common to move around. And sometimes, even though they tell us that the masquerades hail from heaven, it's possible that a drummer, I hope we don't have Paul as a drummer here. There's no Paul drummer here. Okay. So it's possible that Paul drummed on Sunday, and on Monday, if you move very close to the masquerade and you're about to run because of his ferocious look, the voice under the garment may be your friend Paul, who says, Tolu, it's me. So I'm saying that people go from church to being under a masquerade, and then they come back to church. And we've seen Paul is before you, not because he ran, but because he disappeared from behind you and appeared before you. In the natural, he has no potential. But what gives Paul under that garment the potential is that no masquerade travels alone. There is a personality that follows the masquerade whose reality is built around acknowledging the spirit of the masquerade. And if he does it long enough, the spirit of the masquerade will be embodied by your friend Paul. And there are things that Paul can do. There are even times when Paul might multiply himself, so that if 5 of you are looking around, you find out that Paul is standing in front of the 3 of you. Once the garment is shed and the spirit moves away, Paul becomes normal. Even in the acting out of the supernatural, the reality of acknowledgement is the first reality. What you call him is how he expresses. Because he will not strive with men. So if you only know him as the giver of gifts, when you approach unto him, he gives you the gifts. But some of us know, like God's servant said to us, that the possession of a gift does not always equal the preservation of the gifted. You will need to look upon him again and acknowledge him as the one who preserves the gifted. We want to do that in 4 minutes. You can find any posture, and I want you to just acknowledge him. We come to the waters, and this time we do not only come to drink so that our thirst can be quenched. We came because we know that the waters can also function as a preservatory facility. You are the giver of gifts, and that which you gift is good. But you are also the one that rescues from the depravity that predisposes the gifted to peril. You are my keeper. You are my keeper. You are my keeper. And in this day that the gifts are stirred, you will preserve your vessel. You will preserve him. For it is now unto him who is able to keep from falling, that in the seasons of my manifestation, the story of my fall from grace, the story of my departure from the path of truth will never be told, because it will not happen. You have empowered. You will preserve by yourself. Is someone acknowledging him tonight? In the day that the gift makes loud the carrier, my heart will not be lifted unto vanity. You will keep me. You will keep me. You will keep me. Oh, kamomi bohe kabo rabos kemi bovetabi santai. You will keep me. You will keep me. You will keep me. That which was planned to subvert me will not work. Omora brokamu selitomo kamobahita pope bakomi foreahana tano senovi rahe teni seti hanata. You will deal with my excesses, that in the day of my manifestations they will not be accentuated unto destruction. You will preserve your man. Tonight we came to acknowledge you as the giver of gifts. We acknowledge you as the preserver, not only of the gifts, but of your man that you have gifted. My maruve halahile hola hasasana. Ranto vienoso sihena hata. Parivohibra hatonesuta. But as we acknowledge you, if there be any amongst our brethren who is already on the path of addiction, oh, those motions will be arrested. Those motions will be arrested. For you will show up as the preserver. You will show up as the preserver. We say, keep everyone under the sound of my voice tonight. We say, keep them. For I know him whom I believed, and I'm persuaded that is able to keep all which have committed unto him against that day. None in our ranks will be derailed. We will be strong. We will be strong, ever manifesting that with which you have equipped us. Ah, ah, ah. Rahabota Santo Beboma Bovahaba Bibonte Hutaba Bebo Kabova Mami Kufaramute Nahate Somovi Boke Venato Kurata Vidos Tezizihite Santo Rido Nika Kome Mataka Koa Mataka Saneko Vigreto Diata Rukuba Kabom Danadu Kela Tebo Bopepe Memo Kapo Tabro Bantoria Bakakavami Bote Setemi Movantona Nakata I Patevri Tediste Haya Preserver. We exalt you, 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 gifter and preserver. Elakeva Kombopakai Adalililen take him makomeado. Shine varatone bahale. Oh, Tambebeo Sataya. We rejoice in your salvation. You will keep your man. 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 Subverting spirits will not have the final say. We are a people preserved. We are kept by the Lord. Ayali homo kerahata teteka tatiata topa papakapo tapa pepa papea payas sievelile sotomanias. Oh, oh, You deserve all the glory, yes, Yahweh. You deserve all the glory, yes, Yahweh, Yahweh. You deserve all the glory, yes, Yahweh, Yahweh. You deserve it. Two more times. We give you the glory. Yahweh. Yahweh. Anina no me hoto veredu hula na hana haila na ata. Antivehaya. You deserve. You will keep. You will keep. You will keep. You preserve. You preserve. You preserve us. Our confidence is in your strength. Our confidence is in your willingness. That you will not gift and walk away. You will stand with your man. You will stand with your man. You will shield him from the darts of the enemy. We will be strong and not in temporal fashion. We will be here standing for long because you will preserve us. You will preserve us. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we remember the name of the Lord our God. He is not just a gifter, he is a keeper. He will keep us. But I know that the Lord saveth his anointed. He shall hear from his holy temple. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. We rejoice in you. We rejoice in you. Yahweh, you are strength. Yahweh, you will save. Yahweh, you will deliver. These gifts are not traps. They are not traps. They are not traps. And we will not be trapped. Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. All the glory, yes. Yahweh. Yahweh. Thank you, Father. In the name of Jesus. You may be seated. This is how I walk myself. If you stay long enough in truth, you will know that without him, you cannot survive. No. But with you, I find my strength. With you, I can hold on. With you, I know I'm covered. No greater power than you. No God is greater than you. One more time. With you, with you, with you, I find my strength. With you, with you, with you, I can hold on. And with you, I know I'm covered. No greater power than you. No God is greater than you. So like you tend the gift, like you tend it, you spend time praying. You must stay in acknowledgement. we do not lose consciousness of the giver, and that his eyes are on the gift and the gifted. You will not fall. You will not fail. God over your lives will have no regret for gifting you. What Saul was gifted was kingship, and if you hack into the existence of Saul, Saul rarely produced anything. So that even on the day of his consecration into the office of the king, it was by the help of a servant, the wisdom of a servant, that gifted him access to their national prophet. He was a son. But you will need to study in Jewish fashion what a donkey is, because when you send a son after a donkey, it's a servant's job. It advertised how Kish saw him. But in spite of all of those idiosyncratic manifestations, God still chose him to be a king. Are you with me? He still chose him. But 2 years down the line, the Bible said that it grieved the heart of God that he had made Saul king. There was a deposit, a gift of the Spirit of the Lord that rested upon Saul. That's what kept him on the throne. And so by 2 years into his reign, God began to look for another man after his heart. Meanwhile, there were stories that Saul could not tell in fellowship with the Spirit of the Lord that David came to tell us. Because if you look at the 23rd Psalm, it was a king's psalm, and it advertised a fellowship not just with a giver, but a keeper. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That was David. And I'm asking the Lord that beyond relationship, the Holy Spirit, who is not just the giving spirit, who is not just the preserving spirit, the Holy Spirit, who is also the spirit of our fellowship. It means if any man is situated in robust expressions of fellowship, it is because the same Holy Spirit made it possible. That same Spirit, in the name of Jesus. John chapter 14. Let's look at scriptures a little, and then when I have about between 17 and 20 minutes, I will tail it off. John 14 from the 14th verse. The desire of God is to bless and enable his people. The desire of God is to bless and enable his people. This desire is built not into the consciousness of work, but into the consciousness of existence. So that what I'm saying is that if God begins to manifest love towards you, it's not built into his wanting to do something. He's built into who he is. He is a blesser. And so the ensuing activity to validate a shape of existence. I am a blesser, so I bless. I am an enabler, and so I enable. However, the counsel that I just revealed about God, who is robust in desire to both bless and to enable, is beyond his man. God also is seeking for an avenue to bring the world at large and the rest of the community of believers into the reality of his blessings and his enablement. So the man who is gifted by God, truth, 4 things called 2 things. In grace, he was an embodiment of God's unmerited favor. In grace, he was also an embodiment of God's supernatural ability. In truth, He was an embodiment of the principles of God. In truth, he was an embodiment of the reality of God. That was God's total investment in Christ. But you find out that with all of God, Jesus did not. And if you do a study to find out what the destiny of a disciple is, a disciple does not end his sojourn with his master with mental knowledge. The destiny of a disciple is built into the reality called rep. What it meant was that when Jesus checked out, each of the disciples was supposed to have been possessed or should have possessed those four streams from God. They will be embodiments of God's unmerited favor, of God's supernatural ability, of God's principles, and God's reality. So that Jesus could truly say that as the Father has sent me, not just in mission, but in equipping, so send I you. And that mandate was designed to be experienced in transgenerational fashion. You are blessed. Huh? Well, I'm not praying. I'm just telling you that you are blessed. Paul's testimony concerning the fulfillment of this intention of God is that you have been blessed with all spiritual blessings. The blessing is summarily an enablement that makes for the fulfillment of the original intent of a thing's creation. So God has looked into his purpose for your life, and according to the testimony of scriptures, you have been fully equipped for it. Are you with me? Many times we act like he's just going to. You have been blessed. For God, by his divine power, has given unto us all things that pertain to life and godliness. So you have it. Everything that destiny demands, you have. But your degree of appropriation, according to scriptures, is through the knowledge of him that called us to glory and virtue. So as you increase in knowledge, you lay hold of what is available. Increasing knowledge does not make available. It just exposes to lay hold on what is already available. So that in some of those questions, some of the things you're asking, people get to talk to me every day. Pray for us, pray for us. These days, I don't even pray again. I was in the studio and I met one of my friends there this morning. So he said he had sent me a message before, and I can't remember. So when he now hid me again, and I went and saw the message, and my heart is cutting. I'm saying this publicly so that he's hearing. He had some visions some visions from God, and wanted me to bring instructions as to what to do. So I asked him a question. I said, when you started this journey of sights and hearing, did it start with a man? He said, no. But he needs my input on certain things. My principle in seeking counsel is that if I have a problem, I always ask God. Meanwhile, I know that God has people. Are you with me? It will be God who directs me to who I will talk to. Because like you said to us, a man can be good, but he can be a wrong counselor. So I told him if he started with God, don't end with man. Go back to God. The time spent to unlock that answer in God will not be wasted. If it will become wasted time, God will point you in the direction of somebody who has a ready-made answer for you. However, I found out that the time spent in unraveling that mystery is a gift to God, because God deals with more things than your answers in that period. As you stay long asking him, Lord, speak to me, Lord, speak to me, Lord, speak to me, he will speak to you, but there are more things that he's doing. He's fashioning a vessel, and you can abort that process if you jump out and take a ready-made answer. So if he does not instruct, that you seek outside him, you stay. One of the core visions upon which our ministry is built was revealed on the 7th of November 2004, and it was unveiled for reality on the 11th of July, on the 6th of July 2011. So it was permanently on as a prayer point. You showed me something. You showed me something. You showed me something. You showed me something. After like 3 years, I tried to seek counsel with one of my friends. And in trying to interpret, what he did was to bring out a dictionary. One of the words there was custodian. I was just back from school, CUS. And I saw that I was back on campus. It was like a trance. And then I beheld falling down from the sky. They look like Easter eggs. You know what Easter eggs are? It's like a normal egg, but it's bigger and it's artificial. So it's just locked. And then you can put maybe cookies or sweets most times inside them. I was in that experience with a very close friend. And I told them, if this thing is falling from heaven, I think that it should be useful for us. But he said he was not interested. So one was falling across his head. And then he dragged me and I picked it. And I heard a voice, and the voice said, swallow it. Immediately it landed on my hand. The shape changed from egg. It became like a church with a spire. You know those old churches with towers and then a cross over it. That's what it became. And the voice did not say, eat it. You know, if you eat it, you just eat it like a drumstick. You choose some parts of it. It said, swallow it. And so I swallowed it. When I came back to myself in my room, my throat knew that something passed through it. Immediately it was swallowed, a voice said, today, I establish you in progression as one of the custodians of my church. So after 3 years of asking what does it mean, I now went to this, my friend. The first person I went to, he gave me a sack of sermons. I should go and listen to it. I didn't find my answer. The second person said, Shebi custodian is an English word. And let's go and find the meaning. So we went in the dictionary and we found out that a custodian was one who, though could not claim ownership of, was saddled with the responsibility of preserving and maintaining the sanctity of a thing. So, some of the things we say are built into that thing. Are you with me? But you see, the dictionary has no powers to impart into that reality. So, even though we understood from the dictionary, the runoff was impossible. Because on the 6th of July 2011, I was on a prayer walk and I saw the same thing now happen physically. I was the only one that stood and saw things falling and saw things falling. He now revealed to me that a time will come when it will be in rapid fashion that churches will drop out of the economy of the grace of God. And that the responsibility will be to journey around. That's where my own itinerant ministry is sourced from. To journey around and strengthen the faith, strengthen the faith, strengthen the faith, strengthen the faith. There are realities that you will not enter into because you were imparted. You will need to journey into them. So that in the day that God invites you to a journey, you allow him. Because many times, the gift is not hidden. The journey of unlocking is what brings preservation. You will lose things on that journey. You will gain things that will give you a balance when the gift becomes operational. Are you with me? Okay. Let me go into my labor. I just tried to add to what my God just said there. All right. So, we have established that God blesses and that he loves to equip his people. And that he equips his people not as an end, but as a means so that the whole world can come into the experience of his blessedness. And the whole world, as they align with him, can also be equipped for onward expression of what they have found. So Jesus gathered these 12 disciples together and as he tailed out the 13th chapter of the book of John, he began to implicate their hearts with the consciousness of his departure. I've skipped a lot of verses, but in the 14th verse, he brings some basic instruction that I think we will need. Let's do 15 instead, so that we don't stay too long. 14, 15. Thank you. If ye love me, keep my commandments. The man who will possess the Holy Ghost with attendant expression of the gifts of the same Spirit must exist as a lover of the Christ. A lover of the Christ. You love him. You love his things. You love his mission. You have a greater than fan expression with Jesus. You are connected to his very heart. You know when his heart bleeds. You know when he has moved to get something done. You are permanently in sync with him. I mean that you have an emotional relationship with the Lord like a man will have with a woman. You are obsessed with bringing him pleasure. That's what love means to me. You can buy me the whole world. If you don't think that pleasing me is utmost, then I don't count things as love. I don't have a track record of enjoyment, and so I don't have a handle on things. You know, if you have enjoyed, they can taunt you with things. Somebody was inviting me to a meeting recently. 5 hours. 5 hours. 4.5 hours. About 5 minstrels and 5 ministers to preach. And I said, sir, how would we preach? The 5 of us in 4.5 hours. And then there's another 5 individuals who will sing. You know, people like those, I don't know if they do it around here. It can be 12 minstrels, 12 preachers, and the meeting is a 4-hour meeting. Meanwhile, well, if you do that kind of meeting, God will help you. The ministers don't even talk to themselves. So every man comes and takes a scattered part for their session. So you speak for 20 minutes, speak for 20 minutes, because the song must be more than the preaching. So I now told him I was not interested. That I don't do that kind of ministry again. He now said, we have a robust welfare package for you. And I laughed. And I'll translate what I said in Yoruba. I said, you don't scare a man who has not known enjoyment with things. You know, if you used to eat, what are the good things people buy here? Okay, there's shawarma here. Okay, do you have pizza here? Oh, no. See, they are they Adulam students? Honestly, back at home, we thought that all of you were fasting. Okay. So let's use shawarma, even though shawarma is not a big thing. It's more profitable to eat fufu than to eat shawarma. May God give you understanding. So I just liberated the brothers there. Now. If you had not lived around shawarma, and then somebody says, if you don't do this thing, we'll not give you shawarma, would you move? There's no appetite for it. That's how I got myself away. Why did I do that? You would think it was arrogance. It was an act of love for Jesus. Because I know that what the man was trying to do was to motivate me. It's another God I'll be serving. The excellence of speech, the excellence of manifestations will be to, you will think it's Jesus. You will not know that it's the package that got me into the team. That's how subtle a man can be led away because they know that you have a gift. Sometimes the gift, because I said in the morning that the 9 gifts are not exhaustive. God by his spirit elevates a man into a place where you have influence. And sometimes your face on a flyer can bring people to a meeting. And so it's possible that people begin to merchandise your face. And you must know when to say, enough is enough, because the Lord is not pleased. If you love me, keep my commandments. That's why we also need to press into the tools of perception, because you cannot obey commandments where you cannot perceive them. Are you with me? An additional thing that you will ask for when the gifts become operational are the tools of perception. You will be weak in the administration of the gifts if you cannot hear him, if you cannot see him. Remember, a good number of the gifts are deployed by utterance. Are you with me? It means that if you cannot hear what he's saying, you will speak wrongly. For Jesus said that the words that I speak are not my own. As I hear, I speak. Some of the gifts border on acts of power. Jesus also said the Son can by his own do nothing. So that the Son does only what he seeth the Father do. It means if you are blind to divine activity, the abuse of your gifting is inevitable. So that's another area that we must press into. But why did I come here? The next verse is what I really need. Jesus said, and means that what I am introducing is premised on what I first said. And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter. In some translations, what you see there is helper, that he may abide with you forever. This asking is not to furnish the believer with the foundational reception of the Holy Spirit. Are you with me? He's not saying that if you love me, you obey my commandments, because that is not an entrance requirement into the economy of God. Do you tell somebody who does not have the Christ in him to love the Christ and obey his commandments? No. It means that person has no capacity to love him, nor to advertise his love for Jesus by obeying his commandments. The love of God that compels us is also a furnishing. And according to scriptures, it is shed abroad in our hearts by... It means if he's not there, you can't love him. So what Jesus is advertising here is not actually the first entrance of the Holy Spirit into that mystical union with your human spirit. He is referring to what happened in Acts chapter 2, which was the release of the distributions of power that we call the gifts of the Spirit. Me pressure the Father. What will make me ask the Father to give to you is that you have demonstrated devotion to me by obeying my commandments. It means that even though you have the presence of the Spirit, the workings of the giftings of the Spirit are not by design supposed to be effectual in the disobedient. So somebody is asking, you know, when God's servant spoke the other time, he said, you used the word mystery. The mystery of sustaining an anti-God posture, but wielding his authority. It's not a talk for today, but those are out. You remember that when Jesus was introduced, on the day that Peter was giving a commentary about what happened at Pentecost, his statement was, this same Jesus whom you crucified has God made what? Lord and Christ. The answer to that mystery is in the twin titles that Jesus got on the day that he was coronated. Because the office that routes the anointing, that routes potency, is the office of the Christ. It means that if he's not your Lord, he's not your Christ. Are you with me? We stop routing him in truth in the day that he stops being our Lord. So a life of sustained disobedience will mute the energies of the Spirit, and so that the disobedient man does not seek recovery, a counterfeit spirit begins to operate inside him. See, the Holy Spirit, our subject is the gifts of the Holy Spirit. You cannot indeed use the gifts of the Spirit to advance a cause that is outside God. What happens many times is that once you leave the lane, you come into the lane of another spirit who has a look-alike reality. It is not the spirit of prophecy that is converted to the spirit of divination. No. The spirit of divination self-exists. And so when a man leaves the consecrations of the prophetic dimension, what he steps to, like in a race, is another line. And on that line, there's a look-alike spirit that wants to keep a man running with reality when he has lost fellowship with his Lord. Some things are coming to my heart, but it's only you I'll share it with. Sometimes when certain names come up, and we see people excited, and people are excited, and you keep quiet. It's because you met a man. You meet people. Sometimes by handshake, you can know. God is not here. Maybe I should also bring counsel. Younger ministers, and I'm speaking to us. I'm a young man too, so we're young ministers. We used to have pressure to just minister. And so sometimes you see consecrated people appearing with strange people. That with all of the Holy Ghost that you have, there is no discernment as to who to minister with, on whose altar to stand upon. And so the one who has chosen to serve Jesus because of cravings, to be visible, to appear on flyers, people don't even know if I'm ministering somewhere anymore. Since I had an experience in Anambra some months ago, I almost missed kidnapping. So I decided to start entering towns in darkness. I will have left. They now say, they say you came to our town. I say, I'm at home now. I'm gone. Love will save you from a lot of things. An undying desire to see him pleased. An undying desire to see him pleased. It will help that even if you press, you engage, and then you have force is rising within you, you'll be restrained in activity that he might stay with you forever. That's how Jesus advertised the promise of the day of power to his disciples. If you sustain your journey in scriptures, by the time you come to the 24th verse, that's the last 24th chapter. That's the last chapter of the book of Luke, the 49th verse. My time. Okay, don't worry. Am I still ministering tomorrow? Okay. We will not preach tomorrow. Because we don't have to. In the 49th verse, that's Luke 24:49. Jesus now gives to them a protocol for reception. What did he say? He said, and behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you. If you look carefully, you'll find out that there was an activity that Jesus carried out between the last introduction and this one. It meant that the disciples had fulfilled the requirement of Jesus' asking, and that Jesus had made that request of the Father. For now he was confirming to them that he sends the promise of the Father. I have secured the promise. It's no longer in his hand. I have gotten that. If you back off to Psalms chapter 110, you'll find the rearrangement there. The Lord, speaking to my Lord, said, sit until I make thy enemies thy footstool. And then what I will do to establish you in victory in the earth is to send forth the rod of thy strength out of Zion, and the mandate will be to seek out your enemies and rule in the midst of them. Are you with me? But in the day you ride as king in the earth, by your rod, you will need men to march with you. So your people shall be willing, and their willingness will advertise that the day of your power has come. Are you with me? So if you match all those scriptures together, I don't have all the time, you'll find out why Jesus said, behold, give me look back. Thank you. I send the promise of my Father upon you. But that earlier instruction produced another instruction. Can you whisper to your neighbor, please stay instructed? One of the secrets of perpetuated manifestation is that you are instructible. When I first started doing impartation in our ministry in Ogbomoso, we were between, normal days were like 80, 90, but people like impartation. So when it's impartation service, we can have 200, 250. And the instruction at that level was to lay hands on everybody. You will think it's a joke. When you lay hands on 50 people, and you are not just playing with them. God is routing energies through you. After a while, the vessel will be weak. After a while, I found out that there was a resident gift that was stirred if I decided to obey God like that. So, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 is just decreeing a gifting of the Spirit. By number 11, 12, the gift of the word of knowledge becomes operational. So it means I spend more time with the people. So the first 10 or 11, what they need to do is to go back and join the line at the end, and then I will be so fluid with their lives so that by the end of the meeting, I'm like a pack of cards. I just fall. I just go and sit down somewhere. And I was not married that time. So by the time I get home, there's even no food in the house. So it's a usual place. So you just crawl into your bed, you thank Jesus, you sleep, and you go away. Sometimes on your way home, people you have laid hands on before still block you on the road because they feel that there's still something. And I'm thinking of how I will survive having to meet hunger at home. And they say, sir, pray for. Say, I prayed for you before. Say, please, sir, pray again. Pray again. That was my life. After a while, they said, don't lay hands like that anymore. Speak into the atmosphere. Stretch your hands. And so I'll stretch my hands. And then it will work. Sometimes he comes and says, don't stretch your hands. Don't speak. Just worship me. Just worship me. And then the whole atmosphere comes alive. Are you with me? When you become used to instructions in administering gifts, yesterday's instruction can become today's idol. Are you with me? That's why beyond relationship, fellowship needs to be sustained so that you are in tune with the current instruction. It may be clap. And every time he gives you that instruction, the end will be fulfilled because you were called to obey him. You were not called to master a particular part. His emphasis is what advertises what to master. When there's a shifted emphasis from the protocol of administration, you embody the new instruction. Is somebody with me? Good. So the first instruction was to love and prove the love by obeying commandments. The second instruction now, in the day that the promise had been secured, was to tarry in the city of Jerusalem until they be endued with power from on high. And so they began to tarry. If we journey from here, as they moved close to the day of activation, Jesus, or the writer of the book of Acts, sustained his right them or introduced us to a class session that the resurrected Jesus, who had prepared them for that day of endowment, had to return them to know the times or the seasons that God has set in his own authority. The word there is exousia, not dunamis. So the authority of God is a vault system, and there he keeps what we call restricted knowledge. Their job was not to go to announce that we have been empowered, or today the seat of government is altered. They will be able to affect the seat of government if they pressed into a protocol. So, sir, you were to give us quite a number of principles. I trust the Lord that we will have the rest of those principles, because the inconsistencies that we have often in manifestation are built into the absence of principles. And where men find principles, the non-addicted way in which we address principles that we have uncovered is what creates inconsistency. So if he tells you wake up every day and pray at 5 a.m., and then you do that for 2 days and you don't do it for 10 days, and then on the day you feel there's a need for a manifestation, you now stir it up, the gap is disobedience. Everything he commands a man to do, he gives a man the capacity to do it. So one of the ways to be consistent is that every time you see that flesh wants to fail you, ask for help. Ask for help. Help me, help me, help me. He didn't call you to obey him without his help. Are you with me? I'm saying that obedience is not a test of strength. Your obedience in consistent fashion is built into dependence on him. I can't tell you the secret of strength because I don't know, I'm not strong. But I can show you the secrets of a life of dependence. So that I've even lost touch with trying to be strong. What I'm mastering is how to lean on his shoulders. And what a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, what blessedness, oh, what peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms. I'm leaning, I'm safe and secured from all alarms. I'm leaning, I am leaning on the everlasting arms. And oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms. I'm leaning, yes, leaning, safe and secured from all alarms. I'm leaning, I am leaning on the everlasting arms. That's the call. That's the call. If you stay in his instructions, you will not miss the day of your delivery. If he tells you to tarry in Jerusalem, if you stray to Capernaum on an errand, you miss the event. Because in the book of Luke, what was said was that he spoke to about 500 people. Yes, to tarry in Jerusalem. But in the upper room, there were 120. Because many times when he comes to hold a feast within a public feast. There was a feast that was ongoing. I hope you know that the feast of Pentecost was not the coming of the Holy Ghost. There was a Jewish feast, so people were eating and drinking. It was on the strength of the realities of that Jewish feast that they mistook their expressions for drunkenness, because people were getting drunk. It was in the midst of that noise that he came. So you needed to love him and advertise your love by obeying his commandment if you will be empowered. So your obsession in prayers will be 1, to stir the spirit within, 2, to stay obedient. My prayers are more supplicational than petitional. If there is strength in you, bend me into your will. Help me. Don't let me displease you. Because I understand that if I do my part, his own will find expression. Is somebody with me? So Jesus gave them the final protocol, because we need to go and pray. Ye shall receive power. And like God's servant said to us in the morning, the native name, that's the word you used. The native name for the gifts of the Spirit is power. The Lord was not obsessed with trying to define the strains of power. To say, okay, there are utterance gifts, there are power gifts, and there are revelational gifts. As far as he was concerned, all of them could be congregated in the reality of power. And if you check, you'll find out that God has only one use for power, is that he wins with power. You think that the working of miracles or the gifts of healing are superior to the gift of the word of knowledge. Their ends are the same. It is that God advances into a territory that was erstwhile under the strength of the adversary, and that is dislodges successfully. I'll share a story with you that will pray. A young man called from the US is now connected to us. You don't know his name. You likely not know him, so don't worry. And said to me, sir, I have a problem. Okay, so what's your problem? He said, sir, I want to marry. And he's almost my age. Huh? I said, marriage. So what should I do? He said, pray that I will marry. And that's a simple, it's a straightforward prayer. Not so. Many times when you hear those requests, the man of God in you rises and you decree, you will marry. And that you end it. But I found out that if you have an addiction, or if you have been aided by the Spirit to love the Lord passionately, every time you have a need to express him, the gift comes readily, because he knows that the expression will be an act of love. So instantly a gift kicked in, and I saw that he had a marriage certificate already. So I told him, you are married. He says, I'm not married though. I want to marry. I said, okay, the Lord said you are married, so you cannot be married. He said, I'm not married. Okay, let's go deeper. How did you go to the U.S.? So we saw that there was this cooked up marriage that he had with his sister. With his own sister. It was her name there. You know they have the same surname. So it's easy to. That's how he traveled. And he has been in that nation for long. And now he's trying to marry, but in the realm of the Spirit, his error was established as truth. And so he was a borrowed identity. That's why you must not esteem venison, may God give you understanding, than the love for Jesus. Because you know that those issues I'm bringing up will make him say, I'll not give you anything. If you are obsessed about things, you will decree what is not decreeing. And it will impact upon the positions of favor that you have with the Lord. And so you will lose out on potency. Something dies every time we displease him. So I now told him, we are not working. It means you have to go out of work, and then we need to do something about your identity. So we began that process too. The same month that wedding was annulled, he met his wife, because he married 2 weeks ago. The same month, he was just walking and stumbled on, oh, if you see the lady, you will make that same sound. The lady was not in any mistaken identity. The parents are established, they are all citizens. And so he was in pole position to be established, when you marry like that. And God has given us victory in all those areas. As they began to plan the marriage, we're still working towards this readjusted identity in the US. It was on the morning of his wedding that he got a notification from the Home Office that his identity had been regularized, having the readiness to avenge all disobedience when your own obedience has been made complete. So when he called in to say, Papa, we're marrying today, I'm so happy, I said, good. Now we must understand that this identity and the marriage are to an end. There is a prophecy over your life, and this is what Jesus will do. He wants to win in you so that he can win through you. I'm going to give an altar call. Since I have tomorrow, we'll just run the gifts tomorrow. But this is the thing that I came with. If you know that there is an area of disobedience in your life, I want you to gravitate towards the altar. Don't look around. Don't look around. In the day of our rising, the enemy must not have his things with us. Please just come. Just come. Just come. Just come to the altar. Just come to the altar. You can kneel before the Lord and unopen your heart to him. I know the numbers are larger than this. Heart to him. I know the numbers are larger than this. Any area of disobedience, you want to tell Jesus tonight, we obey him. In the secret, we obey him. In public, we obey him. The public, we obey him. The prince of this world, cometh, Jesus said, but there is nothing of him. Cometh, Jesus said, but there is nothing of him in me. And tonight we let go every area that gives him an advantage in destiny, an advantage in the manifestations of God. We let go tonight. Oh, I surrender. And I surrender. I want to know you more. I want, yeah. Baron de Kai Morano Voraha Taba Bicopoleta Hano Bate Mopopalo Tasamo Babriha Ponia Tahaya. Speak to the Lord, speak to the Lord, speak to the Lord. We give off the things of the enemy and we embrace you. Too much. We give back, we give back, we give back, we give back. We repent, lived contrary to your will, till ye be endued with power. The company that we advertise is strength in this day of power manifestations is first a willing company. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. And he advertises them further, saying, in the beauty of holiness. That's the beauty of their consecrations. That's how they will emerge. Fresh from the womb of the morning. Thou hast ordained the dew of thy youth. They will be strong. They will resist corruption. And so tonight we ask of you, O God, that you will breathe upon this company, this repentant company. You will breathe upon them. Let the things that were muted, let the things that have dwindled in expression on the strength of a life lived in disobedience, let them find restoration. Lipo kave pikito sotika hasus farako tukakata vinito kotia tatagabida bom se kabila fopotoka paravi bites toso fetoa pimbre fevuta manavi tesusufa. In 1 minute, I want you to ask him for restored expressions. Everybody, ask him. Ask him. If you're in the front here, just ask the Lord, I have given away the things of the enemy. Give me back my things. Give me back my things. It's a call into expression the things that were lost. This is how we journey into empowerment when we have perfected obedience. Belisuso venontes tu zatale tumana. Bristo voto masaito veruba hata limto sila beruve kevento mo sanata ayote suboka mantobre keba bifetenai. Yes, you will hear our cry for restoration. You will hear our cry for restoration. Blessed be your holy name. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Now, there are 6 amongst you who used to operate in the gifts of healing. And I sense that strong in the atmosphere, the gifts of healing. And the Lord is saying that which has dwindled is restored right now. So I will ask him to restore it. And he will anoint the 5 of you. And then I will go to my seat. We'll continue tomorrow. Lord, thank you for this privilege to return to you. Your word says, in eternity we are healed. In quietness and confidence we find our strength. I ask of you that you will show me among these my brethren, these 5 individuals who used to work in the gifts of healing, these ones that you are restoring. Help me find them and anoint them. 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 You can help me bring them. If you find them, just bring them here. Find them and anoint them. 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 Find them, the 5 of them, and cause your spirit to rest upon them. Let this gift that has dwindled be restored. Now you showed me 5 of them. I ask that your hand will give us the balance. Your hand will give us the balance. You will anoint again. You will anoint. You will anoint. You will anoint again. Jesus. Ilamombri ovakabo siso tantombo seata. Latibabaran feliatonas. Yes. 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 You will give us the balance of the 3. You will cause your hand to rest upon them. Oh, it will be strong upon them. He restores. He restores. He restores. He restores. You can bring her. You can bring her. Lord, you showed me 5. And I insist that these restorations are perfected. Now, there are many more things that he's doing, but 5 of them were shown. 5 of them were shown. So it's the hand. It's the hand. It's the hand. It's the hand. And he multiplies his strength upon you. He multiplies his strength upon you. He multiplies his strength upon you. Even tonight, those hands are infused with healing power. Ooh. Mahikomobri atavakombe sesita. Meto sonai meto santo mirodia tesito sight every hitahaya. Oh, we break free from defilement. We break free from defilement and we establish you in the reality of what he died for. Can we please do that song? Fantastic satavatando dosai. I venito toyatai. Ekutio takata tapiko miatogas. Santo vrekutu sahatatatias. Restored. We breathe life to your hands. We breathe life to your hands. Every spirit bows. Time. Yes, anywhere you were, every spirit bows, to the Father, to the Father, to the Holy One. Restorations. We take off that which has pressured the deposits of God. That which sits on what Jesus has given. We take off that which pressures. And tonight he reactivates. He gives life. He's in fellowship with your spirit. He gives life. 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 We come against the administrations of death. We come against the administrations of death. Moteko biba baratonos. Live